Department has yet to decide. They've had 3 weeks. They've had yet to decide whether to charge and prosecute him for criminal contempt.
Joining us now is Bob Woodward, associate editor at The Washington Post. He is also the co-author of the new book, Peril, which chronicles the fraught transition of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Always wonderful to have you, Bob.
Thank you.
And you bring some new information as well, because I know that as we are looking at these subpoenas, let's talk specifically about John Eastman, the attorney with that 6-point plan at first. Tell us what you've discovered about a podcast that he did earlier this year in May.
Well, Robert Costa and I didn't discover this, but our assistant, who's a lawyer, Claire McMullen, is just bombarding us with research and information. And she discovered on May 5th, John Eastman in a podcast, now this is before our book came out, specifically talked about the war room and the Willard, and he said it was kind of coordinating all of the communication. And then in a very important legal point, he said, I would not normally talk about things like this, but I've been directed by the President of the United States, at that time was Trump, to tell and to talk. So he's waived the privilege. And traditionally, judges will look at this and say, hey, wait a minute, you're out talking about it, but also you're saying your client, the President of the United States, specifically said, talk, explain. So how do you justify not talking to this committee or a grand jury? And so you're kind of, you've got 1.5 feet in the door already.
It's really fascinating. The Willard, for those, the uninitiated, it's the Willard Hotel here in Washington, D.C. It's near the White House. And he's referring to this war room, this kind of coordination center that we've heard Steve Bannon actually refer to before as well. I do want to talk about Michael Flynn. You've reported extensively about some of what Michael Flynn has said that is obviously very interesting to this committee, and that has to do with his discussion of invoking martial law.
Yeah, he's the hardliner in the Trump orbit and would be a key witness in this. Now, as we've discussed, the January 6th committee does not have a strong hand because there will be delaying moves, and traditionally congressional committees can't get this kind of information, and this goes back to the Nixon tapes case in 1974. So you have to, this is in the hands of the Justice Department, and again, Claire, our assistant, has been saying, look, go back and look at the Supreme Court decisions. This is a clear case of a violation of what is called 371 section conspiracy to defraud the U.S. If this is not a conspiracy to defraud the U.S., I don't know what is.
What are you thinking about timing here? Because when you have all of these folks associated with Trump trying to delay things, they might not really have the grounds to do it, but it's effective. Is this just going to run the clock out?
Well, it could. And that's why the Justice Department needs to kind of step in and say, look, this is, to put it in its real terms, this is about democracy. The certification of who's going to be president, it's one meeting that the President of the Senate, who is the Vice President, holds. And in that meeting, he looks at the certificates from the states, because the states submit the electors, and then he counts them. And the law is very, very clear. And again, we wrote about it in the political context, the Eastman memo, for the first time. Jamie Gangel of your network dug into it and looked at it and said, no, what's the substance here? And the substance is, it really is a coup memo. And there is no basis in fact in that memo where Eastman says, well, 7 states have submitted alternative electors. There's zero evidence of that. And, you know, people go, and when Robert Costa and I were working on our book, we talked to Republicans. What do Republicans think of this? And we found that two of the biggest Trump supporters, Senator Mike Lee of Utah and Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, investigated these matters. I have the stack of Lindsey Graham memos that he got from Giuliani. And if you go through this, it's just BS. And Lindsey Graham had his chief counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee look at this, and very systematically, and there's no truth, no fact. And so we now have Trump out there essentially making the rationale for a future candidacy that the 2020 election was stolen. Zero evidence.
Zero evidence. This comes down right now in these subpoenas to and other matters of the committee. What is Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, going to do? Are you surprised he hasn't acted yet?
No, I mean he's careful, but this is, and I'm sure there is political reality. The White House doesn't want to be seen investigating the prior president, quite frankly, and so
Can I ask you a question though about that? Isn't sort of not wanting to be seen doing it and kind of maybe pulling a punch also making a political calculation?
Well, yes, it is. But if there's no investigation, you have no scrutiny. And what this needs is scrutiny. And the January 6th committee is to, I think, just as a process issue, is to be commended for lots of subpoenas, we want to talk to people. In the business of trying to find out what happened, you have to take a primary figure like Bannon or John Eastman, and you ask, who are the satellite witnesses? Who are people in their orbit? Keep going around, and eventually you may find somebody who really knows something, has secret tape recordings, will cooperate. This is what happened in Watergate with Alexander Butterfield disclosing the secret taping system, which literally a handful of people knew about, and he was out there and he was willing to cooperate when everyone else remained silent.
Yeah, the onion has many layers indeed here. You got to peel them back. Bob Woodward, thank you so much for being with us.
New development.